Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Hellmouth, a Buffy and Angel podcast. As always, I'm your host Adam, and with me, Tom. Tom, how's it going?
I'm pretty good.
Awesome.
Looking forward to doing episode 2 for a while. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. Some delays for various different reasons. Holidays, you were recuperating, so.
Unfortunately, I did get COVID, so that sort of put a delay in plans for a while. But
right, so you're all good now. You're all
100%.
You're all healthy, so that's a good thing. So the episodes can be delayed. It wasn't an issue, but we're back now, and hopefully we'll get it back on a regular schedule here. But last we left, we did the first 2 episodes of the series for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and today we're going to do episodes 3 and 4. Before that, there's not real, in terms of news, there can be real news for a property that doesn't have the series is done.
Unless that
reboot is nowhere in sight, so.
Yeah, supposedly they were working on a soft reboot, weren't they? But that was years ago at this point. So
it's
unless
been
it
a
comes
couple
back
years now since
bed.
the announcement, but
such a shame. I was really looking forward to seeing it, especially since they said it was still going to be in continuity.
Yeah, and look, I think with this property, it's bound to come back around.
Oh yeah, it's only a matter of time, really.
I know that I guess Disney owns it now because of 20th Century Fox and all that.
Yeah.
So.
How cool would it be if they said, right, we're because they said they're doing a more adult side of Disney Plus, aren't they? Like kids version and the adults version.
Yeah.
If they were to say just make it a Disney Plus exclusive, Buffy season 8.
Oh yeah, and that would garner a lot of attention, subscribers. So.
The Buffy fans are extremely loyal.
Yeah. So
they were going to bring back that, and we're also going to resurrect Firefly and Angel at the same time.
Yeah, and then you have so many more subscribers. And I think, look, I think you could do a scenario where you have a passing of the torch.
Yeah.
Where you can bring in Sarah Michelle Gellar, not to be the main slayer of record on the show, but essentially.
Well, she could play like the Giles.
Exactly,
be the Giles.
Yeah, right. So
it'd be great. Just say Buffy, she's getting old. I know Slayer lives that long, but somehow she survived that long. Yeah. And just have her become a watcher. Just say I'm not the Slayer anymore. There's loads of Slayers. I will be a watcher. I will train Slayers. She's basically what she was doing at the end of season 7 anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know. It makes sense. And since Disney, they revived the Mighty Ducks, for God's sakes, which I'm excited for because I'm a hockey fan. But
and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is coming back.
Right. So if you can revive those 2 properties, surely Buffy is not far at some point from that treatment, I'm sure. But there is news within the Buffyverse in the sense that, as we know, Boom has been working away at their reboot of the franchise via comic books, and I believe they're around somewhere around issue 24, 25, somewhere in that range. And I'm a little behind on my issues, but through the wonderful spoilers that are solicitations for comic books, it's been brought to my attention that they're doing something really cool, and that is spoilers for potential spoilers. But they are introducing a multiverse, and what that allows, or what that's going to allow, is for this rebooted Buffy set of characters to interact with the previous iteration of the comic book, which was a direct continuation of the show.
Which is fun, because you have teenage Buffy in 2021, and then you can have the much older Buffy from the original show, and it's kind of. Yeah, it's intriguing. Unless they've already got around to redoing this storyline, there's the first episode with Anya, where Cordelia wishes Buffy never came to Sunnydale, and not Sunnydale.
Yeah.
Is it Sunnydale? Yeah, it's Sunnydale. Brain fart. For some reason, since I said it, I thought it was wrong for some reason. But yeah, first episode to introduce a parallel universe. It'd be cool if the comic starts off with them going there, but somehow opens it up to multiple Earths.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'm a couple. I'm basically, excuse me, a story arc behind. So I don't.
Plus, there are other dimensions throughout Buffy anyway. Like there's hell dimensions. There's the universe where there's nothing but shrimp.
So there's so many places to go. I just think it's a cool idea in the sense that that fan base was the fan base of the show, and by extension those later seasons via comics, is so loyal that maybe, let's be honest, maybe they were put off by the idea of rebooting the comic universe. So this is a way to say, look, hey, here's the olive branch. Let's, the newer fans of Buffy via these comic books and the original fans of Buffy via the original set of comic books that was in the world of the TV show. Let's bring them all together and sort of, create some harmony. And again, it offers some cool, story potential.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm looking forward to catching up on it, and maybe down the road we'll delve into some of the Buffy comics here on this show. But we're still a ways off from that because we have to continue with the actual show itself. So let's get right into it.
We're still. This is only episode 3 of season 1, so
yeah. We probably would have been around the 8 to 10 mark had things gone smoothly, but hey, life throws some bumps, and you adjust. So here we are, episode 3. So give us a brief rundown of episode 3, Tom.
Well, Buffy has decided she wants something normal in her life, so she decides to try out for cheerleading, which, she was a cheerleader, obviously, in the original movie, and, and she keeps trying out for cheerleading, strange things keep happening, and the classmate, Amy, who plays a much more significant role much later in the show, turns out to be a witch, and then also not just a witch, but she's actually her mother in her body, and... yeah, just some really fun witchy stuff.
Yeah, fun witch / body snatchers or what's it called? Freaky Friday.
It's like really freaky.
There's the franchise I was looking for. It's what kind of surprised me, on this rewatch of this episode is how quickly they introduce witches and witchcraft and all that jazz.
I mean, if you take the first 2 episodes as basically a feature-length pilot, this is basically episode 2, really.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that I think what they wanted to do is just establish early on that vampires aren't the only things to be worrying about here. There's all sorts of other types of demon, and there's black magic, there's
all kinds of weird crap going on in Sunnydale. And that idea of again, like you mentioned, she was a cheerleader in the original film.
Yeah.
So that's a cool callback to that, and
it's also interesting to see Joyce's point of view in this episode. Like she thinks, she gave up cheerleading, and that's when the trouble started. Maybe if she goes back to cheerleading, everything will work out, and. Clearly, Buffy just isn't that person anymore because by the end of the episode, she's just really not interested in it.
And I like that. It's the trope of the cheerleader and how several shows have done it, and it never goes well. I think Smallville had an episode where the cheerleader was some sort of witch. So I think
the episode they use chemistry and pheromones to drug their boyfriends into being completely devoted to them. That's I didn't hate that episode, but I didn't love it either.
No, it's not one of the hallmarks of the series, but it seems like a lot of series, that are.
It's always a fun idea, evil cheerleaders.
In the sci-fi realm, and that are set in a high school setting. I mean, they're gonna venture into the evil cheerleader realm. But
even Sabrina the Teenage Witch had an evil cheerleader.
Right, and I liked there was a mention. I think was it Buffy or Willow that?
They say she's our Sabrina after they do a test to see if she's the witch, and Willow says she's our Sabrina, which is pretty cool. Nice little reference.
When she puts the spell on Buffy, it's a little reminder of just how strong Buffy is in the way that if she's not cautious, she could really do some damage to regular folk, right? So
plus, like, Buffy's like acting drunk and like just telling the truth. She actually tells Joyce in this episode that she's a vampire slayer.
Yeah, and Joyce is like, what?
Yeah, she just thinks, everybody thinks she's either drunk or on drugs.
And I like how you could play that off as well. I mean, because think about it. Can you imagine telling a parent something like that? What parent is going to take you seriously and say, sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, it's an easy thing later that she can cover for. Just like, what did you mean earlier when you said you're a vampire slayer? It's just like, I was joking. Wasn't that obvious?
Exactly. I liked the fact that this episode delves into the mother-daughter problems that Joyce and Buffy have.
And Amy and her mum. It's a great moment at the end of the episode where Buffy actually asks if Joyce would want to go back to high school again. Like, and Joyce is like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
She's the complete opposite of what Amy's mum was. Like, it's nice.
And the interesting thing is, too, the relationship that Buffy wanted with her mother is sort of based on the manufactured lie that Amy, or when she was possessed by her mother, that Amy and her mother had, right?
Yeah, because she says something like how her mother trains with her all day, every day, and Buffy starts thinking, oh, shouldn't my mum be helping me then? And it's just like, Joyce has a great line, actually, where she says, it sounds like Amy's mum doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Or she's got a lot of free time, something like that.
So no, I really love the parallel of the mothers, and I just like the fact that we've got a bit of a taste of their relationship, because when you think about it, like thinking back, and let's be honest, like I didn't have this episode committed to memory, so thinking back, I don't remember Buffy and Joyce having a tenuous kind of relationship, but seeing this, you kind of see, okay, it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. Joyce has, like, obviously she was just very busy at the moment. She was saying that her gallery was having their first showing or something. Like, she was just extremely busy at the time, and that was kind of the only thing that was difficult between their relationship in the episode. Like, it's clear, like, Buffy she worries for a second, but by the end of the episode, you can tell they're fine and nothing. I think.
No, but it's interesting that there is a little bit of I don't know if resentment's the right word, but
Buffy clearly wants some more attention from her mother than she's getting.
And there's a bit of unease and mistrust on Joyce's part because of the trouble, the perceived trouble that Buffy got into.
Buffy got expelled and they had to move to a whole other place so they could find a school.
Not fault of her own, not because she did anything willingly that was nefarious. Yeah. But there is that tension.
Down the gym.
Well, but
it was full of vampires. So.
It was either burn down the gym or we all get killed. I mean, so hindsight is 20/20. But
you can't tell that though to a disciplinary board, can you?
Of course not. Yeah, of course not. But no, so. I just like the layers of the relationship. It's not this cookie cutter, TV mom, TV daughter, relationship that you're used to in past TV shows. It was really, I think, taking things up a notch, and I think
it's a little bit more authentic than some shows.
Exactly, and I think the fact that they were able to do that in the midst of telling a fantasy, horror aspect of vampires and the like is really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things that the show always did well, was like balancing very everyday, normal, like suburban life, and then the supernatural and the demonic.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that they show, Buffy in danger. Like, she's not infallible. She's not impervious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She may be very strong, but you put a spell on her and things aren't going to go so well. But just wait until she gets her strength back, and then she'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, but I like that there's a clear distinction of she's Buffy, not Supergirl.
Yeah.
She's a little bit more.
Supergirl would be weak to magic too, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, sure. But I think Supergirl, can withstand a lot more than even Buffy can. Right?
Oh, definitely.
And I kind of, what did you think of Giles getting in on the action and having to get his hands dirty and do a spell? And
I always liked that. I always thought Giles, the reason Giles was always such a great watcher is because he didn't just watch. Like, if he needed to, he got in and fought alongside, which is exactly what a watcher should do, really. Like, as this podcast gets along, you'll realise just how much I hate the Watchers Council in general.
Yeah, they weren't a very...
They're assholes. They're like rich pricks who make tons of money, and it's like, you still expect a Slayer to go and get like a job flipping burgers because she can't get a real job because she spends most of her time fighting evil. Like, the Watchers Council are clearly millionaires, if not billionaires, some of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Give her a living wage. She's doing a lot. Give her enough to at least pay the bills.
Yeah, so health benefits won't hurt anyway either, because really, how long
it would cost them next to nothing, considering how many of them there are, even if they all just chipped in.
And how long will those health benefits last? Really? We're talking about the Slayer. What's their...
Let's face it, without the Slayer, they're without a job anyway.
Yeah.
As if it would matter to them, because they are clearly very wealthy. But
without the Slayer, they're all dead anyway. So, I mean, in the long run...
She didn't save the world 1 billion times over the course of the show.
So this is going to be a new hashtag, wages for Slayers. Hashtag wages for Slayers. Instead of the campaign...
Hashtag F the Watchers Council.
Yeah, T-shirts, the whole 9 yards. But is there anything else? Okay, actually, what did you think of? Because I thought it was very, very creepy in the sense that the ending when once she's trapped in the statue.
Yeah, that's super dark. Like, what? It's basically got to be a living hell.
Yeah, and the way
worse than that, she's got to watch high schoolers walk past for the rest of her life. Well, at least until the school is swallowed by a giant worm demon.
Exactly.
Which actually, thinking about it, that means the mother in statue form was probably eaten by the giant worm demon mayor guy when the school got destroyed.
No, but
that's super dark. Like, that's a really, really dark ending. Like, obviously the mother's a very bad person, but Jesus.
Oh yeah, she deserved it. No question about it. But just the way, the way it was shot with the close up on the eyes moving, and
super creepy.
Really creepy. But I really liked it. I thought it was a good way to end the show.
Yeah. Because I don't think any of the cast know that's what's happened to her.
No,
I think
the characters have not
killed. Like, they don't know. I wonder if Amy.
She might have an inkling, but Buffy and the like, they have no
She's
idea.
Not likely to help her, and I wouldn't either, to be honest.
I wouldn't, exactly. I mean, if you're not filing for emancipation from that woman, I don't know who is. But is there anything else you want to mention?
Not with this episode.
Okay, so you're comfortable.
I'm ready for a teacher's pet.
Are we going to rate this episode and then move on to...
Out of 10?
Yeah, let's do.
I've got a soft spot because it sets up a lot of stuff that will pay off much later. Like, I love Amy's character, especially in season 6 with Willow. Like, I've got to give it at least a 7. Yeah,
I'll give it a 7. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. And again, like you said, sets up quite a bit. There's the Amy stuff that will again come to play later. 7 out of 10 for me. All right, cool. So let's move on to episode 4. Yeah,
Teacher's Pet.
All right, give us a...
Oh, you want to run down to the episode?
Give us a little bit of a rundown. Yeah.
Buffy's science teacher, her biology teacher, disappears, seemingly, and they get a substitute teacher who turns out to be a giant praying mantis who wants to mate with virgin human boys and have them, like, fertilize her eggs or something. And obviously, her first pick is Xander. Well, second pick after that douchebag.
Yeah.
But, not my favourite episode, but it's still a fun one. There's definitely there's one moment in particular I'll come to later that is absolutely fantastic, and I applaud the writers and the direction for doing it. Yeah. But
all right, cool.
We'll get to
here, but what I find interesting about this episode is, again, it seems like an obligatory. We got to check off this box with high school set shows.
Yeah, the Hot for Teacher, like.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trope, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I mean,
almost every teen comedy has at least one teacher that one student wants to get with.
Well, let's go through it. We've got Dawson's Creek, where Joshua Jackson's character actually had sex with his teacher. So they're fully exploring that angle.
Smallville did it in the
yeah.
first episode with Heat Vision. It's the
Yeah.
teacher that turns him on so much that he starts shooting fire from his eyes.
And I love that episode.
And then she marries Lex, or yeah.
Well, I mean,
she's
Lex
like, she almost marries Lex. She's got
a
like,
money grubber. Yeah, she's out for money.
It's like a pheromone thing, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
She's again like teacher's pet. Like that's how she's attracting the male students is because of pheromones and stuff. So
yeah, and
every teen comedy movie ever made.
But you know what? It's kind of funny because I venture to do a poll. Like it'd be cool if you could do a poll where you could get enough answers. And I think there isn't a guy that has went to high school that has had one hot teacher. That hasn't had one hot teacher. They're like.
I had several. There were like 2 or 3 that I would have loved to have gotten with, but
I
was
remember.
Never going to.
Well, I'll tell you. You know what? I'll tell a brief story. I mean, let's face it. Nothing on the level of Dawson's Creek or anything like that, or Smallville or this. But we had in grade 12, we had a teacher. It was a law class that you had to take for the you needed that credit before you could move on. So I was in this class and I wasn't going to go on to study law, so I did well, but my focus really wasn't. I wasn't looking forward to that class.
You didn't care enough.
Yeah, and then I saw the teacher, and oh boy, I mean, she must have been at that time between 25 to 27 years old, or somewhere, late 20s. She was not yet 30, I guarantee that, and just like smoking hot. So me really having nothing better to do, decided to, and I knew nothing was going to come of this, but it was like she's hot. I want to just admire her from afar for a little bit longer. So what I did was we had an essay due, right? So I wrote the correct essay, which I knew because not to pat myself on the back, but I was pretty good at writing essays. Mm. So
the exact opposite of me.
Yeah, so I
can't write an essay to save my life.
So I wrote the proper essay, right? Like the one that I was actually going to hand in, and then I wrote a how can I phrase it? A quote-unquote fake version of that same essay, rife with mistakes that I knew she'd catch on and question me on. So I wrote this with the purpose of, listen, I'm having trouble with this topic. I really need some extra help. So I could beat her before the class, half an hour before, just to. So that's what I did. I was like the Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of my time, just concocting a fake essay and then anticipating what she'd correct me on, so I'd have the actual one.
You just pretend to write the other version.
Yeah. So
that's actually a pretty smooth plan.
That's how hard she was. It's like, how can I spend half an hour just admiring this? And that's what I came up with. So that was my Lex Luthor moment.
The closest I ever got to that was I just tried a little bit harder in her lessons for at least one of them. So it was just a lesson I was not interested in, and I still just studied the hell out of it because I wanted to impress her. So I think every guy goes through that.
Yeah, well, we had guys in our class that would come from other classes to ask her to the prom, and she she knew it was a joke, so she play it off. She wouldn't get upset about it, but she'd You
could tell it was starting to get annoy her a little bit.
Yeah, after the 6th student came in, it was like, all right.
This is getting old now, guys. Come on.
Yeah. So I never went that far, but I did write a fake essay.
I think that's a pretty fun plan. It's a shame it didn't work.
Well,
but if it was a movie, it would have done.
But again, I didn't expect anything to happen.
No.
Nor did I want it.
But you never expect it to happen.
I never won any legal battles. I just wanted half an hour of hey, she's good looking at me. Let me admire her from afar. I still got it.
I think it's a dream of. Let's face it. When you're a teenager.
Yeah, we're all horny.
Your hormones are going crazy. I think every guy fantasizes about his teachers. At least one of them, at least.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to go to a school with teachers that aren't fugly.
Yeah. So there it is. I did it, and that's what it was. But back to the episode. Yeah, back to the episode. I really felt bad for. First of all, it was kind of nice for Buffy to have a teacher that showed her.
This is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing that I applaud the writers for.
Respect and compassion. Yeah.
Yeah, they even though they kill him off almost immediately, they not only give Buffy a reason to care that the teacher's dead, but the audience kind of cares as well. I was watching just thinking, man, I wish I had had a teacher do something like that for me. No, just show me some human decency.
Yeah.
And just, if they think I can do it, tell me that's what they expect from me, and not just, get pissed off when I do things wrong, which is what 99.9% of teachers unfortunately do. But I thought it was just a really wonderful piece of writing that in such a short scene, I found myself caring about that teacher. It was genuinely kind of sad that he was killed off, because it might have been fun to have had a character like that around for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, no, again, it was nice for Buffy, and in the sense, because everybody else judges her as the problem child. And
she's finally found a decent teacher who's not a complete hypocrite at the school.
And knowing that I was lucky enough to have a couple of teachers that actually cared,
See, I only had one, but yeah.
It took me aside and helped me out, and legitimately were invested in seeing me succeed. So I could relate to. Yeah, I was. I definitely was, and I can't be thankful enough to those two teachers. But so I could definitely sympathize with Buffy's situation, and it was a nice moment to see, and I think she will carry the respect and the care that teacher had for her forward, right? And I think those lessons or that brief interaction really put her on a path.
Oh, definitely.
Even
though he's gone, you can tell that she's probably gonna try to do better in biology anyway, just because she knows that at some point someone thought she could.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's the kind of lesson that, let's face it, I think there's so many students in this world, so many terrible teachers. If there were more teachers like that, there's so many people in this world that might have been able to do a little bit better, and maybe I don't know, got a better job outside of school. You need teachers like that to motivate you. It's a lot more better motivation than shouting when you do something wrong. Or something like that.
If a kid's being genuinely just being a jerk to be a jerk, then by all means. I mean, there are kids like that, no question about it.
But when you see a student that's not causing trouble in class, but is still not doing very well,
and they're struggling
for whatever reason,
exactly,
you need to be able to help those kids.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I 100% agree. No, but so I really like that moment. So we're in agreement on that.
It's my favourite thing in the episode. This is not one of my favourite episodes at all. There is another moment later that I really like, but
I did like. I thought I guess visually for 1997 standards, I mean the
mantis,
overgrown mantis looked pretty good considering.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was mostly practical. I think for some shots, were there a few CG shots in there? I'm trying to remember.
There might have been, but I think the practical helps it. Because
doing things practical always helps, because let's face it, even after it's remastered to Blu-ray eventually, please, Disney, but practical effects, you can upscale, you can make that look bigger on a bigger screen, and it can still look just as good as it ever was. CGI just doesn't do the same. It's why the early seasons of Stargate SG-1 looks so much better than the later ones, because at a certain point they switched from practical and models to VFX. Yeah. And television was not ready for that sort of computer-generated stuff.
No, and
it's always a shame. It's cheaper is the only reason they switch, not because it's better.
It looked decent. I will give it that.
It's not the best there ever was, but it holds up a hell of a lot better than if they tried to do.
Sure. Had they done CGI, it would have been a disaster. Watching it back
in the 90s, absolutely, it would have looked awful. It would have looked like Toy Story level, like Toy Story 1 level CGI.
I mean, think about it. Here's an example: Batman and Robin had $100 million budget.
Yeah,
and the CGI looked like crap.
Which is a shame, because I think the CGI for the most part in Batman Forever he looks pretty damn good.
Yeah,
and Batman and Robin,
right. So imagine
they spent too much making stuff that they could turn into toys, not enough on the actual movie itself.
Yeah, no. So imagine that only having 1/3 of that amount of money for a Buffy episode. Yeah, it's not going to look good, right? So I'm glad they went practical, and it looked pretty decent given the circumstances.
I always wonder what happens stuff like that as well. Who's got the giant mantis stuff?
Yeah, somebody's got it, or it's on eBay somewhere. But yeah.
It's got to be somewhere, unless they just, I don't know, repurposed it into a different demon later on or something. I don't know how they would do that. But
the other thing about this episode that I enjoyed was the bits with Angel.
Yeah. Angel giving her a warning about the guy with the hook hand.
The guy with the claw, yeah.
Which
the Wolverine vampire is what I call him.
Well, it's funny because it actually does bring me on to the other moment in the episode that I love, which is when you see that demon, and the demon sees the teacher, Mantis Lady, and shits his pants and runs away.
Yeah.
I kind of love that. It's like you think that's going to be the main, even though you know the teacher's got something weird going on, like you think the hook hand vampire.
It's a misdirect.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it when the show does stuff like that.
And it's quite clever, yeah. And I like the way Buffy used him to, like, exploited his fear to track her down.
Yeah.
Like, that was very clever of her to do that. So I like that.
It shows that Buffy she's a very smart girl, really. She's just, I don't know, the only reason she's doing bad in class is because she just doesn't have time, because she's out there fighting vampires every night.
Exactly. Who has time to study or write an essay when you're fighting for your life and the lives of millions, right?
Now, if they had a class in demonology, I'm sure she would be an A-star student.
Top of the class.
Her and Willow would just
Giles
take it.
Would be the teacher. Xander would still be getting bad grades because he's too focused on looking at hot girls, which, fist bump, I was right there with, I know, but...
Well, Xander only goes to the class so he can watch Buffy.
Yeah, and listen, in regards to his crush on Buffy, I can't blame him. I can't criticize him.
Yeah, I can't.
Hey,
as a kid watching it for the first time, and even watching it again tonight, like, I have a crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I've had a perennial crush on her since 1997, and I'm sure you've heard and you know about my Multiverse Wives list.
Oh yeah, you told me in episode 1, I believe.
Yeah, she's on the Hall of Fame. Like, she's in the Hall of Fame category for that. So
for me, it would be her, Alison Hannigan, like Charisma Carpenter.
The whole freaking cast of ladies is pretty.
Eliza Dushku as well, like just.
Faith, yeah, we'll get to Faith.
But let's face it, as a kid, I had a crush on Buffy, but when Faith came along and she was like a badass and she was kind
so
of aggressive,
it's like
I was just that was the first time I was
both of them?
I'd want to be with Buffy, but
Faith? Buffy's the one you bring home to your mother.
But Faith would rock my world.
Yeah, Faith is the one it's wild night of fun and all that.
It was the first time I think in my life that I was attracted to the bad girl.
I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer counts as the bad girl, right, in Batman, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I saw that too early, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right, I guess it wasn't, it wasn't as fully fledged. I'll concur with that.
But much later on, definitely. But I think Faith hit me at the exact right time. So I was like, "Oh, I think I like bad girls now."
Yeah. What's going on here? I was always the good girl type, but now it's going the other way. But speaking of bad girls, the teacher was kind of like, she played that part, pretty much.
She played it exactly as you would hope.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much. There's real no deviation you can do. Like, that kind of part is very straightforward. It's very, you know what I mean?
There's not a lot of depth to the character, really, which is a shortcoming of it. I like the villains to have a little bit more depth. But then again, some of the time, it's literally just this vampire's coming on a bus. You got to kill him.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But again, to me, it was a weaker episode. But I think the strength was, the Angel connection. And
the Angel connection. I think the writing with the original teacher.
Yeah.
And the fun switching of things when the hook hand or the Wolverine vampire sees the teacher and is terrified. Like, those are the good moments.
Because it shows that even vampires have there's something that even
there's something that scares the scary.
Exactly. So I mean, again, it's not the most memorable episode, but hey. If you're going to do a hot teacher story, they cast it well. I'll give them that. Yeah. She certainly fit the bill.
It's not one that, like, sometimes I just get in the mood to watch an episode of Buffy and I'll just stick in. that episode. I'll be honest, this isn't one that I
it's not going to be it's not on any top 10 list, I don't think.
No, not even how many episodes did the show have? It must have had well over 100.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't even. Yeah, it's not even in my top 100.
Yeah, I don't think it's on anybody's favorite list. I could be wrong. Maybe there's somebody out there that loves this episode. And if you do, great. We're not trying to slag on one of your favorite episodes, but I don't.
It does set up an interesting trend with Xander, though. I'll say that, where it's every time Xander is about to get lucky, it turns out they're just trying to kill him.
Yeah.
He's always like the demon women for some reason. Always love Xander, and then he ends up almost marrying a demon or an ex-demon.
It was meant to be for him,
It's a fun ongoing thing, and this episode had the first instance of Giles being knocked unconscious. So it started 2 tropes of the show. So that you got to give it something for that.
Yeah, the first of many times.
Yeah. Giles always gets knocked out, and Xander always gets off with a demon and almost gets killed.
Yeah, and you know which part I did like about with Giles?
Mm.
The part where they're hacking into the to find the teacher's records.
Yeah. Oh, and he says like, "This isn't illegal, is it?" She's like, "Absolutely not." It's like, I was never here.
And I couldn't stop you.
I couldn't possibly have stopped you.
I saw nothing, and I couldn't possibly have stopped you. And he walks off, and I'm like, yeah, I love this character. And that's why I love the Giles character. Just those moments that he's got those zingers, man. It's good. But yeah, is there anything else you want to bring up?
I did love that. There's one other line that Giles did in this episode that I'd like to briefly mention. Yeah. It's when he's trying to he's phoning the Watcher that went crazy, that knows about the Mantis.
Yes.
And he says at the end of he says to him at one point, "Yeah, you were right. You were absolutely right. It exists. You were right about everything." And like the guy, he pauses for a moment. And he says, "Okay, you weren't right about everything. You weren't right about your wife being reincarnated as a Pekingese." Yeah, you are crazy, but you were right about this. I just really liked that episode. That's
funny. That's funny.
Like, your wife wasn't reincarnated as your dog.
That's hilarious.
But mantis women, they're real.
That's hilarious.
The absurdity of it. Like the dog thing is ridiculous, but a giant praying mantis.
And the way and the way they work that in without belittling the show itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can have fun with it, but at the same time, still take the content of the episode seriously.
Exactly. Like it it's fun. I really did like that moment a lot.
Yeah. All right. So if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and rate this episode.
I'm hard pressed to give it more than a 5 out of 10. To be honest, it only gets that much because of those specific moments that I really enjoyed. Otherwise, this isn't one that I'll probably go back and rewatch. In fact, next time I try and do a binge of the whole thing in a couple of years, I may not even watch this one. I may just skip it.
Yeah.
It's one of my least favorites.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give it a slightly higher. I'll give it a 5.5 for mainly the same reasons you mentioned. And
and I'm bound to disagree with some people listening many times over the.
And also, seeing the Odd Teacher gave me recollections of that time that I wrote that fake essay. So they're an extra portion of a point for that.
Gets half a point just for that.
The good old days. But yeah.
I'm fully expecting when we get to like season 4 or 5, once we get to the Riley character, who I just find incredibly boring, and I wish he wasn't in the show. I can't wait to see if there's actually anybody out there that likes Riley.
That would be interesting. We'll have to do some when we get there. We'll do some Twitter polls and such things of that nature. But
if you disagree or agree with us, leave us a comment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode or the first 2 that we've covered. And again, if you ever have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we'll answer them on the next episode of each show. So maybe we'll start taking questions if we get some. So all kinds of things that you can get involved and be part of the show if you so choose. And if you just want to follow us on social media, you can do that too. And so if they want to follow you, Tom, where can they do that?
Let me just check my Twitter, because I don't remember what my handle is offhand. At TGallagher7. But just, if you stick a link in the comment in the description.
Yeah, we'll do. And then if you'd like to follow me, it's at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. And there's also in the description of this, in the description box of this episode, you'll find a link to the Facebook group. Go there, request permission to join the group. I will add you. We could talk about Buffy or any one of the contents of the other shows that I produce and am a part of. So lots of ways.
Yeah. I also just want to give a quick shout out again to the guy that made the theme song for this podcast, Shmuel Pernicone. He did an absolutely fantastic job. So grateful that he let us use it for the podcast, and
fantastic.
Just awesome stuff. So if you we'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description as well, hopefully, and go subscribe to him because he's a talented guy, and show him some love.
Definitely. We encourage you to go check out his stuff for sure. But also there's a Twitter, because I forgot, because Steven usually does this one, but he's not here, so I'll do it. It's the Twitter handle for the podcast network itself, at MMNPDC. So there's the podcast Twitter handle if you just want to follow the podcast.
I think if you search Multiverse Musings on Twitter,
it's probably the first one that comes in.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But until next time, that brings this episode to a close. Before we meet again, stay safe and stay clear of the Hellmouth. And remember that Buffy and Angel are forever. From the first time she staked the vampire to the last. So long, everybody.
Goodbye.